I'm writing this down as a therapeutic exercise. My therapist thinks it will help, but trust me, after what I've seen, nothing can help. What happened to me is burned forever into my mind. It was late October, one of those days when you just want to go home and forget the world exists. I'm 27, and up until that evening, I'd lived a fairly average life. I kept to myself, stayed out of trouble, got decent grades, and landed a boring desk job working for an old friend. Nothing exciting ever happened to me. That night changed everything. I was walking home from work around 8 o'clock. I'd stupidly decided to walk that morning, not knowing I'd be stuck at the office so late. I live in a quiet neighborhood, except for my upstairs neighbor, who loves throwing parties. As I passed the small park near my apartment, I noticed someone sitting on a bench. It was dark, but I could make out a blood-red tie and the glint of street lamps reflecting off what looked like sunglasses. Something about this person felt wrong. I had the distinct feeling that whoever it was had a specific reason for being there. Behind those dark lenses, I could feel eyes boring into me. The figure never looked away, not even when a bird flew past its head. I quickened my pace, trying to keep as much distance as possible between myself and the park. That's when it got worse. As I turned the corner, I heard the sharp clap of dress shoes on concrete. My blood ran cold at this sudden sound in the otherwise silent night. Every survival instinct I had screamed, "Danger!" The hair on my neck stood up, and goosebumps raced across my skin. The footsteps grew louder, as if the person had been right behind me the entire time. I couldn't understand how they'd closed the distance so quickly without me noticing. Had I been that oblivious to this sinister stalker? I ran to my third-floor apartment, hands shaking so badly I could barely get the key in the lock. I burst through the door and slammed it shut so hard that it rattled the shelf beside it. Sliding down with my back against the door, I tried to control my breathing. Then I remembered how quickly the figure had moved. He might have seen me run up here. I jumped up and peered through the peephole, holding my breath. All I saw was blackness. I wiped the lens, thinking something was blocking my view. When I looked again, the darkness was gone. Instead, a grotesque, blood-red eye stared back at me. I gasped and stumbled backward, realizing I'd just confirmed my location. But as that terrible eye continued to stare, I had a chilling realization. He didn't need confirmation. He already knew where I lived. When I gathered the courage to look through the peephole again, nothing was there. I couldn't even hear footsteps or doors opening. Was he just waiting for me to open up so he could force his way in? I wasn't going to play his games. I locked the deadbolt, grabbed my pistol from the nightstand, and tried to sleep. I thought I was so clever, so prepared. I should have called the police, but like an arrogant fool, I trusted in my gun and tried to rest. Sleep wouldn't come. When I finally dozed off, I dreamed of terrible things, but what haunted me most was that gruesome red eye. It felt like the man was still there with me, like he'd never left. I could even feel cold breath flowing down my neck. I snapped awake, realizing with horror that I wasn't dreaming. The hair on my neck stood up as I sat up in bed, suddenly freezing cold. My body was warning me that something lurked in the shadowy corners of my room. Squinting into the darkness, I saw the slightest shimmer in the shadows, sunglasses reflecting what little light crept through my window. He was here, in my room. I threw off my sheets and reached for my gun. It wasn't there. The nightstand was empty. I would never misplace it, and I would have heard it fall. He had taken it. That shadow I'd glimpsed had stolen my weapon. Panic overtook me. I couldn't stay in the bedroom, but I couldn't leave the apartment either. He might be waiting in the hallway. I sprinted down the hall and locked myself in the bedroom closet, sobbing uncontrollably. I heard him again, slow, patient footsteps moving down the hall, stopping at the closet door. A quiet scratching came from the other side, deliberate and methodical, as if he were carving something. When the scratching stopped, the footsteps retreated to the front door, heard it open and close quietly, cried myself to sleep in that closet. The next morning, I opened the door to find words carved into the wood. "You can run." I broke down again, knowing this nightmare was far from over. I considered calling in sick, but work felt like the safest place to be. I grabbed my bike and rode the 15 minutes to the office, determined not to walk alone again. At the office, I went through my usual routine typing forms, signing papers, answering emails. During lunch, my friend and I went to our usual spot by the woods behind the building. As we ate, I felt watched. Couldn't be possible that he'd followed me here, could it? "You okay, buddy?" my friend asked. "Yeah, just a little preoccupied," I lied. That's when I saw it, a shimmer in the woods. It's the same reflection of sunglasses I'd seen before. My friend noticed my stare and turned to look. "You must be seeing something I'm not," he said with a chuckle. "Yeah, probably just a bird," I replied, forcing a laugh. Back at my desk, I tried to focus on work when email notifications started popping up. The first was a picture of our office building. Strange, but not alarming. Then another email with a photo from the west side of the building. Then more and more pictures. The woods, the picnic table, 2 people eating lunch. The final photos showed my friend and me, with one zoomed in on my face at the exact moment I'd spotted that shimmer in the trees. My hands shook as I opened the last email. It contained only 4 words, "But you can't hide." That thing had found me where I thought I was safest. I needed somewhere remote, somewhere impossible to track. My friend's cabin. It was secluded with no obvious path leading to it. I went to his office and asked to borrow the cabin for the night. He agreed immediately, saying I looked like I could use some fresh air. He even offered to drive me out there. The cabin was about 40 minutes away, down a well-hidden dirt path. My friend showed me around the basic layout: bedroom, kitchen, living room, bathroom, and some closets. He pointed out a spare car out back, leaving the keys hanging by the door before heading home. Despite my exhaustion, sleep eluded me again. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that terrible red eye and heard the methodical clapping of dress shoes, followed by scratching at the door. I woke in a cold sweat, thinking the sounds were just my imagination playing tricks on me. To calm my nerves, I decided to make some tea. I found some green tea bags on a high shelf and brewed a cup, then walked to the sliding glass door at the back of the cabin. As I sipped my tea, I felt oddly relieved. Maybe I'd been right. Maybe he hadn't followed me here. I was wrong again. On my way back to the bedroom, I saw fresh words carved into the door. "They can never hide." Dropped my mug, the crash echoing through the cabin. That's when I heard the unmistakable clapping of dress shoes, getting louder and faster, coming straight for me. I turned just in time to see sunglasses glinting in the moonlight. The creature crouched low, like a predator, preparing to pounce. I spun and dove into the kitchen, just as it launched itself at where I'd been standing. As I hit the ground, the thing recovered from its missed attack and smirked at me, thinking I was helpless. The slow clap of his shoes echoed as it approached. I crawled backward until I hit the sink, where I spotted some clean frying pans. My hand shot out toward a pan, but the creature was too fast. It grabbed my wrist before I could reach the makeshift weapon. In desperation, I kicked upward as hard as I could, connecting with its jaw and sending it stumbling backward. I grabbed the pan and swung with all my strength, connecting solidly as it lunged at me again. The impact sent it crashing to the floor and shattered its sunglasses. For the first time, I saw its true face. Those grotesque red eyes burned with fury, and when it snarled, I saw its teeth, or what remained of them. Where teeth should have been, jagged, bloodied shrapnel jutted from its gums like broken glass. I threw the pan at it and ran for the back door, grabbing the car keys. The engine wouldn't turn over at first, and I could see the creature racing toward me, snarling and baring those horrific teeth. I slammed my fist on the dashboard and tried again. The engine caught. The thing pounced onto the hood, staring me down through the windshield. I floored the gas pedal, smacked against the glass, then sailed off when I hit the brakes. Instead of tumbling helplessly, It landed gracefully, planting one foot and pivoting, digging its claw-like hands into the ground to stop its slide. I didn't waste time admiring its agility. I punched the gas again, this time hitting it hard enough to smash my bumper back into the car. I drove away without stopping to check if it was dead. When I glanced in the rearview mirror, I saw no body on the ground, but I convinced myself nothing could have survived that impact. Not much happened after that, except my friend and I had a falling out over the damage to his cabin and car. I moved to a new apartment, too many bad memories in the old one. It's been a couple of years since the incident, and I've been doing well. I actually got an email from my old friend recently, saying he wanted to visit and end things on a better note. I suppose we did part on bad terms. I think that's him now. I can hear dress shoes clicking down the hallway. Very funny. Quit scratching on the door and come in. He won't stop scratching. I guess I'll just open the door for him. I'll have to remember to finish this entry later. If you enjoyed the story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling tales. Until next time, stay curious and maybe a little bit scared.